Hey guys, Scotch for Dummies here. What's going on?
Wowzer. We're having a good time.
Man.
We are.
Back at the bar.
Back at the bar.
Look at this.
We've already been hanging out for a while.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been quite a night.
Did a Patreon
That
show.
was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
That was great.
We had a good time.
So we did our first of our two Secret Santa swap conversations, so people could share what they sent and received, and we got another one lined up for Sunday.
Yep.
And then we had a pre-show, and there was some good people. There was some people we haven't seen
for a while. Some
Yep.
people that join us all the time. I mean,
Good
we
times.
appreciate anybody that wants to come in and hang out.
Happy
So.
Thursday.
Happy Thursday,
Cheers, guys.
We're drinking
What's
little bells here.
Yeah,
Man, I love
but not just bells.
Before you go.
Before you go.
It's old school
Before
bells
you go.
from like the
Before you go.
70s,
AFORE.
and it's delicious. If you ever get a chance to pick up like an auction, some older stuff from the 70s or 80s, blends or like just common bottles that you see all the time, pick them up because it's interesting to try like
Sure.
an old Ardbeg versus what it is today. You know, not like a 30-year-old Ardbeg, like Ardbeg 10.
From 30 years
From
ago.
30 years ago.
Right.
Tastes completely different. It's really interesting to try those old bottles. So
Yeah.
who we got on?
Evening, ladies and gentlemen, from the Gulf of Mexico.
There we go.
Troopers on a
Oil rig.
Oil rig, yeah.
Yep.
Probably.
What do you say? That's funny. Oh, man.
I think
Oh,
they're
they
shoving
pro-
it in too hard then.
They probably Q-tip him every time he goes.
More
to
whiskey, Trooper. More whiskey.
That's right. Hey, what's up, Donner? Donner's on. Little Cameron.
Hey,
Damar. Yeah. Justin, we were talking about him earlier.
Yep.
We were, because he sent some samples.
Yeah. He was
We talked
Part
a
of
lot
the
about this guy,
conversation.
Bobby
actually.
J,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
he
we
did
did.
too. He sent some samples. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Clean up on aisle 3.
God, I hope not.
Hey, he made it tonight.
I see that, Herb. Good to see you.
Bryce and
Bryce
Brian.
is here. Brian.
Brian, good to
so
see
we
you.
got the better half of the.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
And that guy's on.
We'll take it.
He's probably been streaming for 12 hours.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
probably
well,
built some Legos.
Yeah, we just had a big Lego package delivered to the house yesterday.
Nice.
There's Leanne.
Yeah.
Hey,
Leanne.
Kevin, I think we saw you popping in and out of the Patreon.
I think we did.
Yep.
We didn't see you.
Yeah.
Hello from California. Nice.
Cali, huh?
Hey,
What's
how
going
you
on the
doing?
West Coast?
What's up, bud? And look at this guy.
I've seen that
Richie
kind of
Z.
thing. Richie Z, man. How
Cheers,
are you?
buddy.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Good to
cheers.
see you on.
Cheers. So how's you guys' week been?
It's Thursday.
It is
It's been a beautiful week here.
Let's not worry about the rest of the week.
Right. Do we have to talk about the rest of it? Can we just
It was
here in the-
55 yesterday, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. It was nice.
It
wasn't bad. Wasn't bad.
But
Yeah.
it's been a long week already.
I mean, the weather, the sun, it's been nice going outside and getting some vitamin D, but work, yeah. I'm
You,
talking about that.
you want to know who's really happy to see us?
Yes. Who is
Molly.
really happy to see
Let me
it?
see if I can switch this camera for a second and put her on for a second.
You might just see her butt.
I don't know if it.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
there she
sure
goes.
does.
She's
She's
too
really
close.
happy to see us.
She's waiting. She
Look at
thinks the
that
show
tail.
should
She's
end
like, she's
right
waiting
now.
right now.
The
She's like,
tail's ready.
she's coming to Mark. Like, come and get me some.
She wants pretzels.
I want some pretzels now.
No, you'll get your pretzels in a minute.
Yeah, we'll do some more Molly Cam in a little bit. But guys,
Molly.
so let's talk real quickly. We're gonna do Q&A tonight.
Okay.
And basically, we've all had some questions. We're gonna kind of talk through. We're gonna ask you guys to submit some questions. But first, let's talk about this week's review.
All right.
What was it?
I
Bum,
believe,
bum,
I
bum.
believe it was this one, wasn't it?
Nadura.
Right there.
Yep.
Yep.
The Oloroso
I did not.
matured. You
I
did
didn't-
not partake
I didn't get
because
much
you
out
can't
of it.
taste anything right
Well,
now.
you're starting to. You have
I
the
did
balcony.
taste some balcones tonight, though. That's a step up.
Yep.
Yep.
Zach's head's already like.
I know.
So
It's like, I knew it'd be balcones to get you through the.
this
Could've
is
been
one
worse.
of the best Glenlivet we've had, right?
I
We're
really
gonna talk about
enjoyed
that,
this
Donner.
bottle.
Yes, we are.
Um,
You talked a lot about the Glenlivet line, and this
Sure.
one was Nadora. They have
they,
Six
so
natural,
natural.
too.
they-
Natural.
yeah, it's natural strength. So it's a much higher ABV. I don't
60.
remember what this particular
60.3.
one. If you get it in travel retail, it's going to be 48. 'Cause-
So don't do that.
yeah, don't do that. Get it as a regular one. But it's a smaller batch release, so you're going to get variations. They're going to list it out on here what the ABV is and stuff like that. There's 3 different bottlings of the Nadura line. There's an Oloroso, bourbon barrel, and I don't remember what
I don't
the-
even remember.
Yes, 16-year-old. So this one, I mean, it's interesting. It's got some sherry flavor. I like the higher ABV. I think it lets you get more of the Glenlivet character because all the other ones are very, it's 40. I think there's one bottle that's 43. So you can't really. This lets you get more of that flavor and kind of mess around with it a little bit more, I think. So I enjoyed it. And
I thought it was really good. I think it's going to be interesting to put it in a blind with some of the sherries. I think it's going to be surprisingly standing out.
And the price was good considering it's, basically a cask strength whiskey.
$89
for $89.
Something
So
like
that's with tariffs on.
Right, which
we'll talk
Maybe.
about that in a heartbeat.
But all in all, I mean, I think if I had to pick a bottle from the Glenlivet line to
best one.
to have, this one's the one I like.
Yeah. Now the Balvenie 15 is something that kind of reminds me of this. That's a $120 bottle. It's a 15-year-old. This is an NAS.
But what's the price point on it?
$89. So it's a big difference. So this is kind of a big. I mean, I think the Balvenie has a little bit more of a bomb than this
Yeah,
is.
it does.
But this is a pretty nice sherry, somewhat bomb.
Right, so we have a friend that just bought a bottle of it today. I am innocent, and he said, "Wow, that ABV jumped out at me." And I said, "Well, you're getting more whiskey for your dollar, buddy."
You are.
I mean,
But don't put water on it.
Well, yeah, it didn't handle the water too well, unfortunately. But
Not everybody does. I mean, it's definitely worth a try. And I think the price point's good on it. I mean, it lets you go in and buy a bottle with,
right.
without breaking the bank.
Yeah,
So
I agree. So nice bottle.
So one other thing to note about this week's review on this bottle was there was some new graphics in the beginning. Did you guys check that out? Did you guys catch Drew's handiwork? It's pretty cool.
I've done some things here and there. I got a new rating system up. I know you guys.
I did. Well, I mean, I 10-second fast forward from here to here, but I did watch I got the meat and potatoes out of that.
So we're gonna try to start doing that. Also, in the new Sunday stuff, when we do our live shows, I'm gonna try and have that stuff planned so that I think what's nice about it is that it kind of, and we did a rating system video not too long ago, a live show on it. So it's the same graphics from that show, but it's nice because it kind of pinpoints exactly what our rating system's about in one slide.
Yep.
right.
So there's no confusion. Shouldn't be any.
Shouldn't be any confusion, but I'm sure there are in the comments.
Yeah.
So, enough about Glenlivet.
I think that's all we can say about it.
Up,
I
right?
think it's worth bottling to buy.
Yeah, and if you get a chance to, try it on a bar or something, I think it's worth picking up a glass.
Definitely
I mean,
worth it,
it wouldn't be an expensive try, and it was decent. So there you go.
Speaking of Glenlivet, though, I've actually been drinking that rum, the Caribbean rum. It's actually not. I know what's going on up there. It's not some water or something.
I'm saying showers.
Probably
Yeah.
Sam.
But it's been a nice bottle. When I first had it, I wasn't very impressed with it. But I've been on lower ABV kick lately. So
Yeah, you have been swinging back down that way.
I mean, it actually. I've been doing some lower ABV bottles too, just because it lets me kind of get to more of the whiskey, I guess, without having to mess with the alcohol burn a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll still pour cask strength.
Absolutely.
It is what it is, but I've been learning to appreciate more. Like this bottle doesn't say what the ABV.
Yeah, there's no ABV on this belt.
But I'm
which is
guessing it's
crazy.
around
like it's
40, maybe 43. It does taste a little
it can't be
warmer.
hot. It's a blended whiskey. They're
It's
gonna
a
be
blended
40%
whiskey
every
from like
year.
early 80s.
40, maybe 43. But I mean, it's really good, and I'm enjoying it. So it's like a Fig Newton in a glass. It's
I
very,
say it's
very
40
nice.
ABV.
but it's nice. It's got some flavor to it for an old blend.
I'm not going to waste it on me.
No.
Yeah. Well,
How about a nice
A little old.
King's Falcon?
Really? Sean has been offing all of his
You know,
garbage whiskey on me because I really can't taste it. And I've been doing a good job killing that stuff. But
Yeah, you have, man.
You have been. But here's the kicker about all this stuff, right? Is that you've yet to really try a Scotch and have some flavor right now. But what you have been getting flavor out of is bourbon, which you don't want to try.
Oh,
Well, that just tells me that if I have a sherry bomb Scotch that's as heavy sherry as Balcones, I'll bet you it'd stand up to the taste of
I
time.
don't think he's going to try that. I don't think I want.
Well, I want that for.
How about that?
high ABV.
Give him the.
How about that Balvenie single barrel, that 15-year?
We'll find something I can get.
Give him the
Sink my
15.
No,
teeth
don't give me good
into.
stuff.
Gosh darn it, there was a
You
couple
have
comments. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, there's one big thing we're going to talk about here soon, which is Scotch in the News that was just announced. And then in the last 24 hours, I guess. They
Yeah.
just came out with that. We'll get into that topic here in a second. But then after that, we're going to transition into sort of the Q&A, where if you guys have questions that you want to actually ask, and we can converse about them. We all have questions on this side of the camera. If you guys don't have anything good to talk about, but we want to give you guys the first opportunity. So hey,
Make sure if you have a question, put a Q in the front of it and then at Scotch for Dummies so that we can see you light up and also the question.
Right. So big topic. Big.
Huge.
Huge.
Tariffs.
Tariffs.
Tariffs went away.
So
4-month hiatus. While they're trying to work out a deal to, resolve all the Airbus, Boeing nonsense. I don't really care if they work out stuff for Airbus and Boeing. That
Just
doesn't really bother me.
don't bring the tariff back.
I just don't want to see you taxing my whiskeys.
But if I'm a whiskey store and I've got a bottle that's already priced for tariff, am I going to change the price for 4 months?
I don't think they
No.
will at all.
Hell no, you're not.
But here's the thing. There are,
I mean, I can maybe buy it for less.
but you've got labels that pulled out of the market because they couldn't afford to send it over, like smaller distributors like a Spey.
But again,
right?
I'm not going to get back in for 4 months.
You've got big ones.
No, if you get it over the pond already, you don't have to pay the tariff on it.
Right. And then
Pay
you've
the tariff when
got
it gets here.
Then you've got big ones like Diageo that saw the tariffs coming and said, well, here's 4 cargo ships.
Right.
Just sit it down in that market because we're going to sell it. And that'll let us ride out this whole tariff thing without changing our price. And so there are some that it hasn't affected as much. And then there's those middle of the road guys that couldn't afford to get out of this market, but couldn't really afford to send over or didn't have access to enough stock to stockpile it like some of the bigger guys. So I think that it kind of, and it worked on bourbons too. Like, there's a lot of the bigger
bourbon took a bigger hit over the pond than Scotch did on this side.
But there was a lot of the bigger
No,
ones that
I
shipped a bunch over right at the beginning and just let it sit over there. So I think it really depends distillery by distillery, how they did and the market too. I mean, if you're in a market that doesn't sell a whole lot of Scotch and it's just been sitting on the shelf since pre-tariff and they haven't had to reorder, then the price may not have gone up at all.
Right.
So I think it's really going to be a case by case. The one saving grace that I think that all of us as Scotch consumers have going for us is the internet. I can look up and see what the going price is. I don't have to go buy liquor from my local liquor store. I can go down the street. I can go across the country. I can go to the other side of the world and still buy liquor at a reasonable price. And we have been able to do so, now you don't have to worry about, like, I've put some stuff in my cart from overseas and they're like, by the way, we're going to have to charge you a tariff. And I'm like, well, delete that because I'm not paying. But I think it's good news all the way around for a lot of reasons. Obviously, I don't want to pay tariffs on that. I think it's punitive and it hurts a lot of people in the distilleries. But I'm anxious to see, because I'm with you. I mean, there are definitely, I've seen prices go up. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over time, whether that's, do the liquor stores look at it and say, okay, well, it hasn't really slowed down sales of X brand of whiskey, so I'm just going to leave it. Maybe I'll split the difference and drop the price 50%. 50% of the tariff price, and just kind of leave it at that and see how it goes.
Well, and that's the beauty of the internet and competitive pricing is that I can buy it for less than the guys who's sitting on the shelf. I can. Because I'm moving the whiskey, and now I can drop my prices and I can undercut all the people.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 4 to 6 months with to your point. Are they going to cut prices? Are they going to try and steal things? I think it's just going to take a long time for things to really kind of normalize, or if it does at all, depending on what actually happens in the 4-month process.
Well, here's the only reason I think we might actually see prices fall, and believe me, I don't think they will. Just from life experience, once you condition someone to spend this much on something, you don't take that. No,
you really think this is going to go back to what it was?
No, but here's why I think it potentially might. Let me pull this number. Scotch imports into the U.S. fell 35%. The Scotch industry lost over 500 million pounds. Okay, 500 million pounds. So they need to start moving product. And how do you move product you lower the price. You've got to.
I don't think so. I think they keep what they have out there. And to
Well,
your point earlier, that stuff
they-
that's been sitting in the warehouses, whatever, they're going to start shipping new stuff in, maybe at a lower price to push it in.
They just lowered the price by not having tariffs.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be very, very almost store dependent, because you're going to have stores that sell a lot of whiskey. I mean, there are stores we go to buy whiskey.
Like Total Wine buys
You know?
pallets worth of whiskey
And they already
every day.
spent the money. So,
And-
I mean, it's like,
So they're going to be able to turn their inventory a little bit faster.
That's
So
the key.
I think it stays high. Just when the
Yeah.
tariffs hit, we didn't see an
It took-
immediate jump
it took
for
a while,
most
yeah.
stores.
it
It
took a while.
they had to go through that inventory, and then when they reordered and realized, hey, the
Yeah,
prices
this
have
is
gone
it
up
here.
now, then you're going to start seeing that
Right.
bump. And so I think it's going to be the same way on the other side. You're going to have to wait until they go through that supply,
Yeah.
reorder, and then as the price comes down,
Good point,
then
Chris.
you'll see something come through.
Except for you may see a difference like online shopping right now. If you try to buy Scotch overseas, a lot of these online stores,
Yeah.
they tack 25% right on top, and they're not even calling it. They'll just they're doing it
Yes.
on the shipping. They'll say, well, there's a 25% tariff, so your shipping cost is an extra 30 pounds worth. You might see a break there.
But
That's
they
an
don't- but
excellent
do
point.
they actually pay the tariff, or do they just?
No, they just
No, they're just assuming it. But that's an excellent point. I think that's where
Oh, they're just gouging.
they're
you.
gouging because they can't. Because you can't get anywhere else.
No.
And they know so listen, and I know you're going to do a video on this, but the whole thing about buying online, you can't tell me in the last 6 months has skyrocketed.
Oh, absolutely. Everything online.
Yeah, well,
has.
yeah, because you're trapped in your house, and yeah,
True, but the
I
tariffs
don't want
have,
this. Give me something.
the tariffs have
you
definitely
don't care, do you?
helped
I do. I want
produce
something.
more online buying than ever because it's harder to find things because you
It
know
is.
what? Let's be honest. How many times have you gone down to the stores close to us right now and the shelves are crap?
Yep.
Because
All
they're
the
not,
time.
they're not bringing in stuff like
No.
you can. So you have no choice but to go online.
Yeah.
What are they doing online? They know that.
Yep.
And they're going to charge you that extra
Well,
fee.
and that's why I'm kind of curious, because there's things that go on behind the scenes in that distribution channel that I'm kind of curious what they've done as stuff is going on.
At home. I'm gonna try.
Have they
Well, why are you drinking
have
a
they
little
stopped
bit?
shipping
Mine's
over as much? No, continue. Have they stopped shipping over as much product in the hope that the tariff's going to go away, so they've got less on hand in the States that they've paid
Inven-
tariffs on?
inventory probably
Interesting.
low.
And so then, now the tariffs are off, they can ship.
You think they've kind of held back a little bit?
I would.
I think that's what Chris B said, that the supply hasn't been there. Like
Yeah.
you said.
Well, and I wouldn't be
Spain,
shipping
others.
over, if I'm McAllen, for instance, well, maybe not McAllen, but if I'm somebody that's got a broad line, I'm shipping over, my 10-year-old, my NAS
And my
stuff still.
blends.
And then I'm not
Yeah,
messing
this
around
is-
with a 30-year-old that's like $10,000 because the tariff is going to be ridiculous.
Well, there's also other scenarios where Ball Blair they re-released a new lineup, right?
Absolutely.
Never announced it. They never actually came out and you've never seen a big marketing push. Why? Because COVID hit, tariffs hit, all this stuff has gotten in the way.
Yep.
But guess what?
They
Their
still got it.
whiskey, it's already here. It's been sitting in Kentucky for probably 15 months.
They've waited
Yep.
X number of years. They can wait another year.
Right.
Yep.
So who knows what'll happen? It's good news, and hopefully whatever
Yeah.
does happen happens.
Hopefully we
So,
see it.
positive,
so
right.
did they
Yes.
actually pay the
Hey,
tariff on
Billy.
that?
No,
Good to
they
see
got
you,
it over
brother.
here prior to
Hell yeah.
the
Why
tariff,
didn't they launch it?
because they have to get it over to get it out into the distribution channels. And so they were getting in the process of getting it
And then
moved
they-
out,
they
and then the
stopped it.
tariffs hit.
They pulled
And
it
so
back.
they just left it sit in the warehouse.
So they
it's
just put it in
it's just
Dunnage
sitting
here
here
and
waiting.
Even though it was already
Correct.
because
here,
you can't get more over.
you can't get more. Okay.
So you're just going to leave.
It's a marketing thing. Wait till they have, because hopefully it goes quick, and then they have to supply demand.
So now they can flood the market, get
Right.
another shipment or two over here to
Correct.
supply and get it. Yeah, okay.
In theory.
in theory.
So
in theory.
and now you see how dedicated people are. I mean, some people have switched over to a different alcohol, because
Not
people
this
do.
guy
Because bourbon, yeah,
riding the storm.
Maybe you're a bourbon drinker now. Maybe you're a rum drinker now.
Yeah.
Maybe you're drinking blends instead of single malts.
You got a question on that,
So-
Mark.
So Donna, you're absolutely right, and it's been a good thing, and I loved it, and I rode that wave for a while. But here's what sucks about the Netherlands for us U.S. folks is DHL decided to pull some funky crap and stopped shipping to the United States from the Netherlands. So I actually have
Oh,
3 or 4 bottles that are paid for
Probably.
sitting in a Netherlands store that they can't even send me right now. You know, they've offered to refund my money, and I keep telling them, hey, you just hold my bottles, Big Daddy. It'll come. And
There's
so
going to be a guy that rolls into your store.
something's going to happen. But that's I am going to do a video about online shopping and the shipping. And actually, if we have time to talk, one of my questions that I wanted to put on the table is about shipping and the laws, and we can talk about that. But we'll finish this conversation about the tariffs. There's two different things that people have done with the tariffs. It was on single malt, so people bought a lot more blends.
Yep.
Okay. And then the second was, don't buy your single malts from the countries that the tariff is on. So get them from Germany, get them from the Netherlands, get them from somewhere else. Just don't buy it from Scotland because it's going to hit you for 25. So there has been some ways around paying that thing, but at the end of the day, it still hurts because Leanne, Scotch and the Bayou, walk into our local stores, buddy.
Yeah,
they're offering
it's pretty
stock.
quiet.
Dusty.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
really, the
crap.
only things you're going to find is the big name brands that probably stuck a lot of stock. You know, I didn't have any problem for the Glenlivet for Dummies going and buying most of the entire lineup of Glenlivet, but they probably dropped most of that stuff here
Years ago.
Right.
pre-tariff.
Or other companies that are owned by massive Diageo types that can afford to take a bit of a hit on the Scotch because they've got a portfolio of
Massive.
other liquors.
It's massive.
You know?
And in that same liquor store, there's not a single Kilhoman.
Right.
No. Nope.
Kilhoman just said,
Well,
I'm out.
I mean, a lot of those smaller distilleries that you just don't, you know, unless you go to a specialty liquor store that's still bringing that stuff in specifically, a lot of that stuff's hard to find.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting as they bring this stuff in, as they try to recapture shelf space, you know, what the pricing does for everybody. So I'll be interested to hear from all of you guys over the next, you know, couple of months to see, you know, is prices coming down? Is it, you know, is owl delivery still
Yes,
legal?
if you can get an owl to deliver it, it is still legal. There are no laws against that.
Michael says, been drinking bottom shelf blend since losing his job. Well, first of all, that part sucks that you lost your job. But the bottom shelf blends you're really liking. And you know what? There are some good blends that are affordable. I mean,
Yeah,
come
sure.
on. We've talked about them time
Yep.
and time again.
Mhm.
Heck, you gave one a 4. I mean, Monkey Shoulder's damn good for $30. And if
Yeah.
I was stuck
Yeah.
drinking that because I couldn't afford anything,
I would not be disappointed at all.
Nope.
be a happy camper.
Nope. There's a bunch of good stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I think good news for all of us. Tariffs going away and hopefully prices coming down.
Yep.
So that was a
Hopefully
good-
so.
good end to that.
Well, hopefully it's over because 4-month hiatus, like you said, if they don't get figured out in 4 months, they will.
I'm hopeful because it hurt a lot of people that had nothing to do with the airline
Right.
industry and everybody knew it. So I'm hopeful that they'll be reasonable and rational going into this and trying to
I
figure
think
out.
it's important to point out too. So, because I didn't know this until I started reading some of the articles from the announcement today, but in all honesty, the UK was the first one to, I don't want to say put an olive branch up, but they made the first move. And
Yep.
this was a couple weeks ago in January.
Yep.
They started loosening the tariffs from there and saying, you know, look, it's time we need to come to the table and talk. The new administration, now's a good enough time. And so they made the first
Well-
move, and good on them for doing that. And I'm glad that we
Yep.
reciprocated on our side.
Well, and with Brexit, they're no longer part of EU.
Well, and that was, I don't know if this is, you know, this is probably a political spin from the UK side, but the prime minister said, you know, that this is a good example that we can exist and be good trading partners outside of the EU. You know what I mean? And so I kind of chuckled at the political spin he put out,
Well,
but whatever.
Yeah, because from what I understand, the tariffs are not pulled from Europe. They're pulled from the UK.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, single malt whiskeys from France are still barred, but,
but nobody's buying those.
well,
Oh.
fair point.
Wait a minute. So I understand what you just said. I didn't catch. So the lift of the tariff that we just made that was announced today is just from single malts from the UK.
Mhm.
Okay. So then maybe it
Well,
does show a good.
I don't know
Trading
that there was
Is there
any
that tariff
other.
anywhere else?
I don't think there was.
It was single
It was
malts.
just
It was single malts from Scotland and
Okay.
the UK, but then the EU had other tariffs
Yeah, I
applied to
don't-
them.
No,
I think it was
Right.
different.
They had other products
Right,
that
right,
were
right.
getting hit.
Okay.
So I mean, you know, it's good. I mean, this stuff's been going on since the George W. Bush administration is when
No
this
kidding?
got started. Yeah.
That's when the Airbus thing,
Really? That long?
Yeah.
that's when it hit the WTO.
Holy
yeah.
crap.
And I mean, that's like before Scotch for Dummies started. So we should start seeing a savings here. You know?
Yeah. We
may
should
be
totally
wrong.
start seeing a savings, man.
I'm no expert, but
Oh, work with me here. Come on. All right. So let's scroll up and see if there's questions, comments, or
I have not
concerns.
seen a question yet. But so
Okay.
if you have a question, do an @Scotch for Dummies and put a Q for questions so we know that you're asking a question for us. So
Do you guys have topics that you want to talk about as far as Q&A? Because I want to talk about the shipping, in the United States, and it still chaps my rear end that it's 2021,
I got one.
and it's extremely difficult, damn near almost impossible, and or illegal in a lot of cases to ship alcohol, even within the states. It's one thing to ship it from over the seas into here, but I read several different websites on how to do this, and one thing that I noticed that was jumped out at me, I never realized this until I read it. So it is illegal to ship alcohol in the United States with the United States Postal Service.
Yes.
It's a flat ass no. It's illegal. Now, if you were to ship it via FedEx or UPS and just lie, like a lot of people do.
I see where you're going.
You know what? It's technically not illegal. You're breaking company policy, but you're not breaking the law.
Federal law. Interesting.
And I was like, well,
So
it makes
it's
me
still
feel
a
better.
loophole.
I like
But-
loopholes, man.
But there are ways, and this website, talked about the various how to actually legally ship to all 50 states. But it's not simple. And even if you do it at the state level, you could find yourself breaking local, county, and city ordinances. Basically, the way they liken it is it's like dealing with 50 independent countries, the United States. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, and it makes it even more common. And why can't we just get over this? Why can't our federal government just come down and say, all right, enough of this? It's interstate commerce, for God's sakes, right? Isn't there
Yep.
federal laws that allow interstate commerce? It just blows my mind that this is there.
It goes back to prohibition.
And it goes back to this. Everybody wants to make sure that they're not getting cut out.
So everybody got to decide at the end of prohibition how they wanted to handle all this. And so I've lived and worked in multiple states, and every state for liquor laws is completely different, and it's all ridiculous. All of it. I have worked in states where it's so for instance, Indiana, it's basically a monopoly. If you want to buy Kilhoman,
Right.
it is sold by one distributor. One distributor in Indiana distributes Kilhoman. So you have to go to that guy, whether you do business with him or not, whether he's a jackass or not, whether he gouges you on pricing, whatever, he's the guy. Until Kilhoman decides to not use him and to use somebody else, which happens all the time. So now if I want to keep Kilhoman on my
Wow,
shelf,
that's a pain.
I've got to chase Kilhoman from this guy to that guy, whether I do business with that guy or not.
Right.
And so there's a lot of that. And,
Like, shoot
pricing
yourself
is
in the
a
foot, isn't it?
pricing's
I
a
mean,
crapshoot. It is what it is. But then if you go to a state like Minnesota's open for everybody. You got 37 different liquor vendors, and they all can carry everything. And you get a catalog. And so it's the pricing's right there. Knock yourself out. And
Or
so
you go
it's-
to a state-controlled state.
right where the
It's the other
state has
end.
everything, and it's like, well, this is awful. A bureaucrat controls what kind of booze I buy. That
Right.
seems horrible, right? But I mean, so it's totally different. And then that's at the distribution level. Then you get into the store level. What you can do at restaurants.
Right.
What you can do at liquor stores when they're open and when they're not open. Total crapshoot. And the shipping thing is also a big deal. Do they have reciprocal stuff with different states?
16.
It's a mess.
Hey,
So
Gee, thank you.
happy birthday to
I-
Mark JG's daughter. How about that?
cheers to that.
Well,
That's a good picture.
I do
Take a look at
wish
her.
that I'm with you, Mark. I think it's an interstate commerce problem. And they need to come up with a set of rules that makes it fair and equitable for everybody.
Across it.
I don't think that it's fair. I mean, how many people have we talked to that are like, oh, yeah, I'd love to join the SMWS, but I can't because I can't get stuff shipped
Oh,
into my
Kentucky's
state.
the worst.
Or, you've got somebody that just can't, like, they don't bring that particular brand into their state. Nobody carries it. And so they can't even buy the stuff that they want to buy. You can't get it shipped.
So a great example that I was talking about, let's say they were to do that at the state level, you still have local. There's a lot of counties in Kentucky that are
Dry counties.
So all of a sudden now FedEx, UPS, and the USPS, they have to manage it, whether it's legal or not.
gosh,
You know what I mean? Even
It's
if
gotta be a pain in the butt for these guys.
and that's why the U.S. Postal Service, it's against the law. They just flat out, don't even ever say you got alcohol. You can actually do it with FedEx, but you have to jump through a lot of hoops, and then it's going to be mandatory signature on the other side. So
Right.
make sure it's a 21-year-old, those kinds of things. But it's possible. Now, what really kills me though is like overseas. I was giving an example of the Netherlands. I was doing a lot of business with Dram Time and Whiskey Site. Got great relationships, good people, man. Great selections, good deals, good prices. I mean, everything's good. It might take you 3 or 4 weeks to get it, but who cares? I'm getting a good bottle of whiskey. Well, then all of a sudden DHL decides that they're not going to ship to the United States anymore from the Netherlands. That just happened out of the blue. And so what do we do, right? Well, when they look at trying to ship to the United States, sometimes, and this even happens on the United States websites, I'll buy a bottle, legal to ship to Indiana. I get the bottle. Things are great. I go check the website a couple weeks later. I'm like, I'm going to hit up another bottle.
Nope.
They don't ship to Indiana anymore.
Nope.
Well, I don't understand what happened in the last 3 weeks that it just fell off. And then, 3 months later, it's back on. And I mean, you really have to check with every purchase.
Is it really the state thing, or is it something that they don't want to do, or
See,
DHL? I mean, that's the question.
State thing.
I don't know, because there
I
are
think it's
some
state.
companies, some
Stay somewhere
online
that fast.
stores overseas that will ship to you. They'll ship to anybody, but they'll say that it's, glassware.
My guess is they got busted somehow and said, "Don't do that." Okay, we won't. And then they hold off for a while, and then they
All right, we're back on.
again.
Right. There's a retail store, online retail store that I've used several times out in California. I won't name them right now, but you read their shipping disclaimer,
I know who you're
and it's
talking
crazy because this is, listen to this. They state
is so good.
black and white in right, so that the sale, the transfer of the liquor happens to you in the state of California. I don't care if you're buying it from Indiana. We are selling it to you, and you take ownership in California, and we will ship it on your behalf. Therefore, if any laws are broken or
It's
the bottle gets
on
broken, you're the one at fault. And I'm like, let's see you stand that up in court, right?
But from their point of view, if you are depending on the state that you live in, if there's a reciprocal arrangement between the states, so this state can ship liquor or wine to your state, and your state can ship to them, right? If there's a reciprocal relationship, then the liquor store can legally ship to you.
Right.
But if there's not, then you're basically shipping to yourself. Like they're just carrying it for you to the post office, basically.
But we get into court, and they're going to say, but who put it in the box, and who put the shipping on it, and who handed it over to the shipping company? Was it you, or was it the guy in Indiana that you said owned it? Well, I mean, technically, I put it in.
I mean, if they're like every other company, it was the lowest paid employee there, and that guy don't work here anymore.
It was John Smith. He's 19 years old.
Oh shit! I'll take that. Oh wow! Let's move on to a different
we got a lot
topic.
of questions.
Yeah,
coming in.
Q&A. Let's move this.
We got first question, I think, up here.
Where was it? It was up there.
No, I think I just passed it.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
think you
It's
did.
been a minute.
So it's right here.
There.
First question.
What price at auction would you pay for Kilcairn 857-1 sherry if you had never tasted it? Last price I saw one go was for 140 British pounds.
So
I got one better.
So that's like probably
If I'd never tasted
180, 190 here.
it, yeah, that's not.
I can
bad.
hang on. I can help
I mean,
you
it
out.
went for $75 brand new, right?
I thought it was 90 here.
I mean,
No, it was
I
going
will
down.
say it gets tough because you're talking about a product that had a limited supply, and that supply is basically gone.
Go on.
So it just depends on how bad you want to taste it. Keep in mind that there's another Kilcairn 8 sherry finished whiskey coming out shortly. So
It's due for the States in June.
So you may be able to just wait and see. But I mean, if you really, really wanted to try it and you had the available funds, I don't think that that's out of the question. It's really
high.
good.
It's
though.
good. It's high. It's good. The better thing to do is become a patron and ask friends. And they'll send you some samples.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Yeah.
a cheaper way to go.
Yeah.
Doing some research for this online shopping video that I'm shooting for Scotch for Dummies here, and whiskeyexclusive.eu. They actually have Kilkerran 8, 57.1. It's the bottle that that everybody
What's
loves.
the price?
But they've packaged it with Kilkerran 12. You can't just buy it. So they're having a hard time moving the 12. So it's a double bottle pack. And so for both bottles, it's €239. And I'm like, I don't know how much the 12 is for.
Not worth that.
I mean, but you're getting 2 bottles of whiskey, and one of them is exceptional.
What is that? That's like $260.
Yeah,
No, that's almost
$255.
$300.
No, it's not. It's not that bad.
Oh, euro, not pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but still, I mean, so what's it? So
And I'll
It's
tell you right now,
$120 a bottle
yeah, that's too much.
it's $286 right now
So-
today.
plus shipping.
No, that
here's
doesn't
the
include
thing, here's
shipping.
the
Yeah,
thing.
plus shipping.
You're getting 2 bottles for the price of one. If you've never had it before, and to your point, it's one of those things. Is it a collector? Absolutely. It's a fantastic bottle, no doubt about it. It's just about.
I think it all depends
how
on
much you want it.
your finances and if
Right.
you have the available
Right.
cash. But
All right.
I think that I wouldn't go much above that. I don't think, but I'd probably pull the trigger on that one.
We're going to start speeding this stuff up. So
Let's
let's
do it.
go.
We're like $1 million behind.
Economy will probably drive prices. What distillery do you think will make the biggest move taking advantage of price drops? Well, I can tell you it probably won't be Macallan.
No.
Those
I
guys are
have
sticking
no
out.
idea.
I think what you're going to find is you're going to have more selection. I think Lee had that first. Like Spey, they can
Yep.
actually get back in now.
My thought on, and I kind of thought about that particular line of thinking for a little bit when we were talking about the tariffs. I'm kind of curious if they're going to utilize the price drops to focus in on the NAS whiskeys and let those prices kind of come down a little bit and leave
To promote them.
the price of your age statement whiskeys higher.
Wouldn't be surprised.
To slow down,
That's brilliant.
to
Yes.
slow down your sales of them and kind of help, with stock.
We
You should
Sure.
take a
and
business
whatever.
class.
That's a great point, Sean.
So-
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm anxious to see. I'm really curious to hear how all of this kind of plays out in the
There's
market.
so much crap going on right now. Let's see what he says. Alejandro here.
Do you guys believe that whiskeys aged by the sea actually absorb marine flavors through the pores of the barrel during
I do.
aging?
I do. I know this guy if Dr. Scotch was here, he might be able to tell us, but
Here's
I do.
here's what my thought is on that whole thing. You've got, yes, I think that there's maybe some marginal influence aging it by the sea, but you also are taking your water from a water source that's next to the ocean. So how much of that maritime influence is actually in the water source itself?
I would argue that's probably more. Now, admittedly, you go by the sea, you can smell the
the
salt,
salt in the
and
air
the seaweed. You
it
can
has
smell
to
that.
affect it.
And as a
You can feel it on your skin.
When we walked in that warehouse at Tomatin, I mean, there's a smell when you walk in these places. Like it's the environment and everything else. I can't imagine. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I can't imagine that sea salt smell.
Yeah.
Walking at Talisker, I mean, it has to be amazing.
because as the barrel's off gas, they bring in the ambient
Sure.
environment, so the brine and those kind of things. Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know for
I-
sure, but I would think.
It's interesting. I would like to see it tested or proven in some way. I just personally,
That's hard,
exactly.
yeah.
I think there is, yes.
All right, what we got here.
What is your one bottle that got away for whatever reason you didn't buy it, and now you're kicking yourself for not getting it? Well, I can tell you my first bottle that got away, but it didn't, was the Tamdu Batch 1. And I can tell you the entire thing. If you guys aren't aware of the story, we went into Vine and Table, and they had a little placard up. We'd never had a Tamdu. We didn't know anything about the distillery. And they had 2 bottles. They had the Tamdu 10, and they had this Batch 1. And the Batch 1 was a little more expensive, than the 10. And we didn't want to pull the trigger on a bottle that was basically twice as expensive, not knowing anything about the distillery. So we bought the 10, we took it home, we opened it, and it was delicious. It was so good. And so we're like, oh, we got to go back and get the one that they had the placard about. And by the time we got back, it's all gone. And so that was my first lesson in, if you see a whiskey that you're really interested in, you should just go ahead and buy that one. Just do it. Luckily, we were able to find that bottle.
I don't have one.
And we've had it several times since then.
Down here?
Maybe down there.
There's a couple down there. But that's my first one. Do you guys have any bottles that got away?
I've got a couple that I've not pulled the trigger on.
Oh,
and
I do have one.
I kick myself in the butt a little bit about it, but the reason I let them go was the price. I honestly, within the last 6 months, I guess it's been, that Glendronach Kingsman came out. And I had the scratch to pull the trigger, and I was going to pull the trigger, and I was going to sit on it for a while like I do every other whiskey. But at some point in time, I'm going to open it with these boys, and that's just the even though I had the money, I could afford it. I had it literally set aside. I just can't do it. I mean, that's a lot of money for one bottle, especially knowing how many other bottles I can get for it. So I've had a couple of those. There's a couple of that I've found. Usually, if it's within price range of, under $500, under 300, somewhere in that neighborhood, I'm pulling the trigger. I'm not going to think twice about it. We've run into some dusties.
This is one for me. I was going to say. The first one.
Yeah. Right.
I missed it.
The old revival.
Right.
The old revival. Right. But for the most part, I've learned pretty early that you got to be ready for opportunity in this when you're doing this.
I think that the ones that I've let go, I'm with you, Mark. I don't think that I've had many get away, but there's a couple that I was like, I just can't. I mean, when you're talking about, it's a closed distillery, and I really like that distillery.
Right.
And it's like a 30-year-old whiskey, and it's probably delicious. And I'll probably be happy that I bought it. But at some point, I'm going to be like, I could have done something else with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. Kid needs a new pair of
that's
shoes, and I'm drinking $1,000 bottle of whiskey.
Have you ever dumped a bottle
Yes.
of whiskey because it was so bad?
Several. Speaking of Scotch,
I finished that.
Yeah, he did.
I dumped mine.
So it's funny. I actually poured probably a third of a bottle of White Walker down the drain. It was the one that you literally walked
cleared the drain
over to me.
Yep.
While we were on a live show. He walks it over to my house. I can't believe he rang my doorbell. I'm like, I'm looking at the camera going, I think Sean's at my front door. That son of.
Holy.
But
Yep, told you I was
ironically
coming.
enough, I poured that bottle down, and then weeks go by, and I get COVID, and I lose my sense of taste and smell, and then I end up
Just
killing
saved it.
a bottle of White Walker in his basement because I can't taste
It's kind of funny.
it.
It's ironic, right? It's like,
Yeah.
screw you, man. So this is a question I don't know if we can answer right now.
Scotch for Dummies, what's the business plan for the Dummies for the next 5 years? Who wants to take that one?
I'll tell you
Anybody?
one
Who
thing.
told him to ask that question?
Let's move on.
Let's move on. I will say one thing is definitely going to happen come hell or freezes over. We are going to have a bottle with our damn name on it.
We are.
And we're going to sell it, and you guys are going to own a bottle of it. It's going to happen.
That'll be
It's
2021.
hopefully sooner than later.
It's
2021.
we're actively, like, I ordered samples this week.
Again, so we've gotten samples before, and we've been down the road. We're ready. We're gonna make it happen. Bottles coming with Scotch for Dummies on it.
I would also say sometime in the next 5 years there'll be a reunion of some sort
Next
of some
5
sort
years,
of
okay.
anniversary,
Multiple
and
trips.
hopefully there'll be a trip, at least one,
Exactly.
across the pond.
And you forget the most magical
That's
thing.
2022.
There's going to be a Netflix series.
We're working on that. We're trying. But
That's going to take like a GoFundMe.
Dummies
and-
invade Scotland.
Maybe.
But if you're asking seriously a business plan, it's crazy. We do talk about it. It's
All the time.
interesting that
Quite a
you
bit.
asked that. And
That's part reason why we're moving to Sundays. A couple other things.
Well, so
we've got ideas that go down some like opposite directions. We don't know
Yeah.
where the ball's going to land, but we know we're still in it to win it, and we're still doing this. And who knows? I wish you could tell us. It'd make this a lot easier.
I think I
That's the
missed a
truth.
bunch of questions here somewhere. Did I go past?
If your question,
I think StreamYard's pushed down.
Yeah.
if you've
Because
missed
we
that,
didn't have anything from Brienne. She asked a question.
Yeah, it went down to the bottom. So hold on
Wow,
a
there's a
second.
lot of questions.
Oh,
in there.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
oh
hold
wow,
on.
Holy
Drew,
cow.
what are you doing?
I can't keep up. I'm telling you.
Man.
Yeah,
Here it
we're
is.
like we're
Drew's
questions
fault.
from 15
Okay,
years
so-
ago.
Here we go. So
We got to be faster.
Okay,
30 seconds per question.
Scotch.
These aren't questions yet. Here you go.
There.
Why is shipping wine legal in the U.S. via wine clubs and so seamless, while whiskey is illegal to
I
ship in
can't
some
answer
states?
No idea.
It all comes down to the liquor laws.
Yeah.
It really does, and it varies by state. And it comes down to reciprocation. So if your state allows shipment from wineries to consumers, and there's a reciprocal state, then you can ship wine. But
Yes.
if you don't have any distilleries in your state, then you may not be shipping anything to anybody, so there's nothing to ship to you. It gets really in the weeds.
It gets
a lot of
political
that stuff.
and money gets involved with lobbyists in certain industries. Wine gets a little bit more of an exception and leeway because of the wine industry. They've been more
Well, they've been proactive about
right.
it.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Proactive. They've been more successful in getting some things changed. It just hasn't spanned across everything.
Okay, so here's a question. This is interesting. How can you tell if a bottle's gone bad? Like you opened a 20-year-old recently and it smelled acetone. That's a good indication usually. I mean, I've had a couple bottles that I think have gone bad. You think this one's gone bad?
I think this Bell's is almost gone bad.
We'll have to work
It's
on
got
it.
a musty kind of off flavor that doesn't have fresh flavor to it. I think
Before you go,
I think there's two.
Before you-
I think
There's
it's
two
good.
things. There's two things
I'll
for
drink
me from a smell and taste. It's really the acetone thing and heavily musty. Sometimes when things get really musty, they
I
taste
like that
like
mustiness.
stale. Yeah.
stale.
Stale.
So, but I don't have a good answer for you because I don't know.
A lot
I
of it
really don't
depends on the bottle itself, like how it was kept. If it's an old bottle that's been stored for a long time, some of those bottles are fine if they were kept in away from extreme temperature variations.
Right.
If the bottle looks good, if the seal looks good, it's probably fine. If it's got a kind of the cork is discolored, if it's been sitting around for a long time, then you might have some problems. If you don't like the taste of it, it may be that it was always not great, or it may be that it's gone bad.
So here's a question. I didn't see a Q in front of it, but I see it's a question. Probably more than I should tell you.
A fair
You know what?
amount.
I'll answer it, but I probably regret it if certain people watch. Like employees that I work with.
Yeah, I drink more than I should.
Yeah, I've
I honestly,
I drink
it
a drain
depends.
probably on an average. I probably drain a night. I would say just because some night I skip every other night or so at least, but
didn't this week.
did this week.
I will say, since I've been opening up restaurants like it's my job, I don't drink as much as I used to just because I don't have enough time. But hopefully I'll get more time.
Ooh, what is your best daily drinker these days? That's a good question.
So
It depends for me. I mean, I'm a total mood drinker. That's a good pick.
Can't go wrong with that.
I've been hitting this. It's a little pricey, but fire.
So because of the fact that I can't taste and smell stuff right now, it's literally been what everybody wants to get rid of their bar. He's given
It's
me
been
2
great.
bottles. I killed a Nockintosh and triple wood. That went down. I usually try to keep a bottle of like Naked Grouse and a decanter on my bar downstairs just because
You don't
it's
feel
cheap
bad
and I don't feel bad just going to it and it's easy. There
That's
it
good.
sits in the decanter. I'm like, I want a glass. I just
Yeah.
open, but usually it's the 10s and the 12s. I've got like an Ardbeg 10 that's open all the time. But Glendronach 12,
That's a good one.
you can't
Solid.
go wrong with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have a bottle of Naked Grouse as well, and it's always in
Right.
the bar. It's
And,
easy to
and
hit.
I've got some Ardbegs that are open, and I've got a quarter cask, for a quarter cask.
Man, I've had that in a
Where's
minute.
It's not fair. I mean, we're lucky enough to have on all the bars pretty good variety
Yeah.
of stuff. So it just
Right.
depends on my mood. But I can tell you right now, if I was someone that was decent, an everyday drammer, Monkey Shoulder or Naked Grouse is a perfect combo
Yep.
for $30 a piece. You can
Yeah,
go
those
for,
are good.
You can go
Right.
for your stable for
Dude, that
30
monkey shoulder.
or maltiness, or you can go for more sherryness. So you can go wrong with those guys.
Yeah.
So all right, what's this one? Are the dummies going to try to procure a bottle?
Don't know.
Hmm.
Don't know much about it.
We have not. It's not
Talk
a
to
business
me.
plan.
I don't know about that
Uh,
Yes, absolutely. Are we going to do another plane of Scotland? We haven't stopped. It's just a matter of getting this damn COVID thing.
So we've kind of talked briefly about it this year, and there's so much, like everything is so fluid with travel, especially between the US and the UK right now, that you guys don't know how long it took us to plan the last one. It was
work.
months of planning.
So much work.
The problem is that we didn't want to just get like a bus tour that was just going to standard places. We had to get somebody that would let us plan our own trip. And then we had to plan our own trip and get permission from all these distilleries, let them know what day we were going to be there in the morning or in the evening. And then the bus tour company had to plot out all of the hotel arrangements. And
Food,
it was
everything.
We spent months planning that trip. So it's really hard for us to plan it right now because we just don't know what it's going to look like in 2 or 3 months.
Well,
and it's a ton of work.
Hotels won't commit,
Right.
and bus tours won't commit, and airlines won't commit.
And we feel bad asking people to put down several $1,000s on a tour that may not happen. So
The answer is it's going to happen.
Yeah.
2022
It's
is
just-
probably the most, not this year, not 2021 for
No.
sure.
No.
2022 maybe.
I would say 2022 is probably on the shelf.
We'll book that, yeah.
All right, what's going on? What bottle? Go ahead.
that's a great question. What is the bottle that each of you love that the other dummies can't stand? I don't know if I would say there's maybe
I don't think so.
I don't know,
individual
there is one.
Yeah,
bottles
we
that
can't
maybe
stand.
some of us like better than others.
I would argue that probably one of the most obvious for me is he loves Deanson's 20. I give or take. It does not do it for me. Deanson's 20
You're
is not
right. Something's
it's
wrong
not
with
my
you.
wheelhouse, and I just don't enjoy it. It's not worth it to me to take it away from him.
There are definitely
I just- I
times
don't-
when there are whiskeys that I'm like, I'm not feeling that tonight. You know, maybe I'm not in the mood for a peated whiskey.
Sure.
But I don't know that there's any whiskeys that I'm like, I can't believe Andrew's drinking that
So
crap.
funny.
I mean, you know, we generally drink, even the daily
You
drinkers
don't like the
aren't
Clan
bad.
McGregor?
Well, I'm not drinking that stuff, but neither are you.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
And there's not one that
I'm
I just
good.
can't stand that somebody else loves. I mean, I really am a mood drinker. It's so if it's I don't want it. It's because
I can
it's
tell
that
you my
mood.
favorite day of the whole year
What was
is
it?
when Mark's wife throws the
I think it was
Halloween
a
party
Creedmoor.
and we get to go in the bunker.
Not anymore because she locks all my whiskey down.
I
Love
did,
that
Brian. It was a cream corn.
Cream.
Cream
Figure out
corn.
what the
Cream
pastry
corn.
note
Cream
was.
corn.
That's a great question,
It was a
man.
cream
Good
horn.
shit.
That's a pull.
Took me forever.
That's a
to pull
good
that
pull
one.
right there.
Gosh.
Hey, I
was
whiskey she wines. What's up?
What's up, buddy? Or
Hookers.
What's up, hookers?
I've been called worse today.
Amen to that.
all right, we're getting close here.
We're out of questions.
Are we getting
They're
caught
fun.
up? Are we getting
Oh,
caught
there's
up?
one higher.
Sketch for Dummies, here's one. Envy have asked someone to buy you a bottle. What?
We have not asked for someone to buy us a bottle. I mean, we
No.
We've had people offer.
offer
and
great, and
and-
we'll accept. But
And we've had people send us samples of bottles that you can't get anymore.
yes,
And that's actually really been helpful because there'll be times where we're trying to do a comparison or compare and contrast between something modern and something older. And people have sent us stuff specifically for that. And that's been really nice. But we don't go out and solicit. I mean, we spend our money on this thing.
Yes, you can.
I think it's
Anytime.
absolutely you can.
Yeah.
But I think it's also maybe that question is being misunderstood. We've actually bought bottles for
yes.
somebody that couldn't get bottles here. Like prime example, Zach's a huge Balcones fan, you know, and he wanted.
Yeah.
There was some Indiana releases that he couldn't get. I jumped in the car, went down to the liquor store, and I'll be damned, there they are. So we bought them, grabbed them, and got them to Zach. You know, when it comes to being a part of the overall community, I definitely would not feel outside of my place knowing that, hey, Bob H., you can get a hold of this bottle in New Jersey. Can you grab that for me? You know, I mean, everybody squares up with each other and pays for it. But it's more of just, you know, brotherly love of taking care of something because, you know, somebody else wants it.
And getting something that they don't have access to.
Right, it's not-
and
it's
if
that kind of place.
well, and if we ever needed a bottle that wasn't available here, we would offer to pay for it because ultimately we have the YouTube channel, we've got patrons, you've got all that kind of stuff, so we've got access to more funds, and there's 4 of us as opposed to, you know, like a single person, so we've got better access to some of that, so we wouldn't ask somebody to buy us a bottle. unless we were willing to pay it back.
So JD, quickly, yes, but not so much as the next day when I smell it.
Aspartame.
Have you experienced sweet Scotch
Go back.
that turned to aspartame flavor over a couple months? What do you
Like
think is the
Coca-Cola.
cause? I mean,
really.
it's oxidation. I mean, every
If
bottle
anything.
changes over time,
Yeah.
and especially as you drink it and the level drops. And that's why when you get down to, a quarter of a bottle or whatever,
Oh,
you should just
I'm
finish it. You're going to lose flavor.
Answer that real quick, Sean.
Sean, how epic is Brora, Team Brora? You know what? I've had a couple bottles. I've been lucky enough to try some samples. I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of like Portella, right? You try these whiskeys and they're epic and they're wonderful, but they're also 25 years old, 30 years old. Of course they're great. So it gets tough to distinguish between that.
Ooh,
Scotch for Dummies, do you
trying
split
to
the
stir
bottles
the
for
pot.
review?
So back in the day,
That may be the biggest
it wasn't. It was much more. We all brought something to the table all the time. It was like
We did do
were
that,
really,
yeah.
we didn't
Got
know
you,
what we were
Bryce.
doing, and then it morphed into Scotch for Dummies. Actually, had its own bank account, and we bought, and we
Okay,
still
paid
do borrow
through
for that. But we've all kind of gone off in our own directions on purchasing, individual bottles for our own bars. And I think every one of us is always willing to bring something to the bar for review. I mean, honestly, I've got a lot of unopened bottles that I'm not just willing to open for a review. But if I'm on the verge of opening it and we haven't reviewed it, then it's going to get opened that way because it's a good review for us.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
who knows how we evolve? We're moving to Sundays and reviews are going to live. We're going to change it up, and I think that's part of the 5-year plan. Or not, but our 5-year plan is probably, it's an evolution thing, and I think that things will change on that too. So I don't know if there's a mooch per se. I will say that there's a cheapskate in the house. This guy, but you know what? He's the one that manages the money too, so I'm fine with that.
I will also say that, if we do a review and somebody just really falls in love with the bottle, they take it to their house.
That's true.
We're
yeah.
pretty good
These
about
are
that. If there's something that we've tried and we're like, oh my God, Mark really just loved that bottle.
Take it.
It's yours,
Yeah,
man.
that's
You
true.
really appreciated this
pretty
more than the
generous
rest of
with each
us.
other. Really
And we'll send out samples to people. Like, we love doing that.
that's kind of the reason why we're doing it too. It's whiskeys for sharing. We want you guys all to be, enjoying it as well.
That's a great question.
Which one?
Air Daddy.
Yeah.
Daddy.
Air Daddy. Scotch for Dummies. Is there a bottle you reluctantly get out to drink or even share because you'll never see it again? I will say there have been bottles that when I pulled out, I was like, I know I can't get this again, but you have to try it before it goes away. The Benriach Solstice, that was a bottle that I think about often. I wish we still had some on the bar, but we shared it with a ton of people because we really loved it.
I think being an SMWS member helps me get over that.
Yeah.
Because every SMWS bottle
That's it.
I'll never see again. And so it's more of I'm going to love you while I got you. And whiskey is better shared. Don't get me wrong. If I've got this bottle that I just absolutely am in love with, I'm going to drink the lion's share of it by myself at home. But I want to share it with somebody else just to see their reaction.
Yeah,
and
that's
share my love with it. Be
Yeah.
like, man, are you getting this?
You want to see that.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
whole point.
So
Yeah.
I think I'm used to seeing them go because I've just done it so many times.
That's very true.
That might be true. But I will agree with you that once you've had enough bottles that you can never run out of good bottles, it's a lot more fun to share your rare bottles
It is.
because not everybody gets that opportunity.
That's
Try
true.
this.
So I can always have an Arctic 10. Our Arctic 10 is always a great whiskey. I will never turn it down.
That's true.
But I've got a strange Ardbeg bottling. Look, hey, you want to try some? You want to try some? You want to try some? Look at all this. Yeah, that's the thing. I can always get good whiskey.
And one more question.
All right.
Scotch for Dummies, favorite video you have ever made
Son
over
of
the
a bitch.
years? That's tough, man. We've been doing this almost 6 years.
There's a Patreon.
I
That's a
would
good
say,
From
man, that's tough. I don't know that I would call any one in particular.
I can't say one. I really enjoy the ones where we dressed up, whether it was Halloween or Christmas.
Yeah, those
are
we're in
fun,
character
yeah.
and we're having some stupid fun, and but we're still literally taking the whiskey review serious, right?
Yeah,
but
which is ridiculous.
We've never
I
never
can't take you
taken
seriously.
this so serious where we're not having fun, because honestly, if we're not having fun, we're not going to do this anymore. If I had to say my favorite video that I ever shot, I can't remember it. I enjoyed watching it.
Drunk history.
Drunk history.
History of the
That's
Belmont.
probably my favorite one.
Although
Just because it's like completely honest.
Yeah, I mean the Mystery Science Theater 3000.
That was
good.
fun.
That was
my
good.
my favorite, most epic moment of
I heard a
Scotch
lot
for
of people-
Dummies ever was me taking an axe and cutting
That's-
the cork off of the bottle
In one shot,
in the
and he hits
Zebra
just the
Hunter
cork.
video. That one is ridiculous. That was not intentional at all.
He couldn't
and
do it
he
again if
just-
he tried.
No, not
Yeah,
ever.
that
I
was
should have
cool.
broke that bottle. The fact that that actually worked out was ridiculous. The Max 6 was a good video.
Max
though,
6
too.
was that was a really, honestly, that was a really lucky thing.
Yeah.
That
It was a great experience.
Good
The whole
experience, yes.
thing was awesome. Whether
That's
it was
fine.
just opening it, sharing it. I mean,
I totally forgot about the wheelhouse call.
Wheelhouse! Wheelhouse! That was me in the video. Wheelhouse!
It's hilarious, man.
He's
I said, just go like this. I go, Sean, go wheelhouse. I went, wheelhouse!
That was awesome. That video was actually a lot of fun to make. We had to walk through the
That
woods,
was
like
fun.
planning everything out.
The funny thing is, the neighbors are
Hilarious.
probably like, what the hell? Why does he have an
Good
axe
for you,
and gun?
Crispy.
What's he
Our
doing
pleasure,
back
buddy.
there?
oh yeah, it was a fun
It
video.
was
to make.
awesome. It was
Yeah.
awesome. So I mean, that was actually fun. We haven't done a question and answer session before.
No, we
Not
haven't.
like that.
That,
was
was
good.
That time flew on that.
That was
just
fun.
opened
Can't
it
believe
up, and honestly, it caused good reflection. But we covered some
Do it
really
more
good
often.
topics. That
Yep.
I was thinking about the topic that I had for the shipping thing as I was walking over here, and part of me was like, are we to the point where we can actually start making an influence and lobbying and trying to get that changed? How do we do that?
I know. Let's do it. Let's
How
get,
do
let's
we-
get everybody
How
to
do we
sign a
get test
petition.
dummies? How do we get some of these other whiskey tubers all involved? And we just do a nationwide. It's time to get
To change it.
Washington to put down a federal law and change this interstate
But-
commerce.
But then they're like, "Why do you want that changed so bad?" And then you got somebody sitting outside your house inspecting
know.
your packages.
They're
Oh.
doing that anyway.
I know you're used to having your packages.
Eh.
Petition.
Cut open, splayed out.
All right, guys. Listen, thanks so much for hanging with us tonight. You report something?
Hang on. So, you know what?
Brother out.
We one thing I want to make a mention. We were talking about our move to Sundays was going to happen in March, and we
And
were
then
adamant about it, and then all of a sudden somebody came up with the idea that there's a spring break going on sometime in late March.
Yeah.
So late March,
So,
we're out.
so we're probably
no.
looking more like the beginning of April. Oh,
April 3rd.
let's do this real quick before we get going because she's right there. Hold on.
Hey. Molly, you gotta
Sit.
sit. Sit. No.
Oh, don't come in. Oh, there she is.
Molly Cam's in.
Molly Cam is here.
Oh,
She's
all right.
just give me the pretzel.
It's pretzel time. people.
Anyway, because we overlooked a 2-week spring break from school, and many of us are going to have family
Vacations.
obligations. We're probably not going to be able to make that happen in March, so it's probably going to be the first week in April. Just a quick announcement.
Yeah,
There you
so 4 weeks away or so, we'll do Sundays. We'll let you guys know. We'll keep you up to date. But
Yep.
Thanks for watching, patrons. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Love you guys.
Take
Cheers,
care.
guys.
Such
Cheers.
fun.
Happy Thursday.